I want to tell you a story that you will never forget. It is the kind of story that will touch your heart, make you think about life, and teach you something important. It's a story about a man named Mr. Jackson and his family, who live in the busy city of Lagos. Mr. Jackson was a man of great strength, not because he had big muscles, but because he had a big heart. He believed in working hard and never giving up, no matter how hard life became. He used to say, "A real man must take care of his family, even if the world turns its back on him." But sometimes, life can be unfair to good people. His wife, Rosaline, everyone called her Rose, was a beautiful woman. Her beauty was like the early morning sun, soft and bright. But as life became harder, her beauty started to fade, not because she wasn't lovely anymore, but because of stress and tiredness. Rose worked hard too. She didn't sit at home waiting for things to fall into place. She washed clothes for other people just to support her husband and feed their 2 daughters. Their daughters were Precious and Grace. Precious was 15 and Grace was 12. They were both in secondary school, full of dreams and hope, even though they didn't have much. Every day was a struggle. But the family stayed together. They held on to love even when money disappeared. Lagos is a noisy place. Car horns, shouting traders, street music, the city is always alive. But in one small corner of this huge city, there was silence. The kind of silence that comes from sadness. In a one-room apartment with a broken fan and a wooden door that barely closed, lived Mr. Jackson and his family. Mr. Jackson was sitting on a stool made from old wood. His clothes were stained with oil from the cars he tried to repair at his small mechanic shed. He had been out since morning, walking up and down in the hot sun, yet he came back with empty hands. His wife Rose was sitting on the floor, bent over a basin full of clothes. She had just come back from washing clothes at a rich woman's house. Her fingers were wrinkled and her back was hurting. Their daughters, Precious and Grace, were lying on a mat, too hungry to even play. "Papa," Grace whispered weakly, "will we eat tonight?" Jackson's heart broke. He looked at his wife, then at his children. "Don't worry, my daughters," he said softly. "I will take good care of you. It's just a matter of time. Things will get better soon." But even as he said those words, he was trying to be strong. He was trying to protect his family, not with money, but with hope. That evening, Jackson came home with no money. Not even a single naira. There was no food in the house. Nothing. Just silence and hunger. "Jackson," Rose said as she looked at him. Her eyes were tired. "What are we eating tonight?" Jackson sat down heavily. "Go and collect some Gary from Mama Clara. I will pay her later." At that moment, something snapped inside Rose. She stood up. "For 1 month now, all we've been drinking is Gary," she shouted. "Gary in the morning, Gary in the afternoon, Gary at night. I am tired. I am tired of this suffering, Jackson. Go and find something to do. This is too much." Jackson didn't say anything. He just looked at her and then looked away. That night, he didn't sleep. He lay on his thin mattress, staring at the ceiling. Thoughts ran wild in his head. Was he a failure? Was he doing enough? What kind of father allows his children to starve? In the morning, just as the sun was rising and the noise of Legos was waking up, a knock came at the door. It was their landlord. "Jackson," he said sharply, "for the past 2 years, you haven't paid a single kobo for house rent. I've been patient enough. I'm giving you 4 days to pack your things and leave." 4 days? Jackson begged. "Please, give me a little more time. Just a little more. I'm trying. I'm really trying." But the landlord just hissed and walked away. That morning, Jackson couldn't go to work. He sat on a wooden bench outside his house and cried quietly, so his daughters wouldn't see him. He hadn't cried in years, but now he couldn't stop. Suddenly, he remembered something. A friend. A classmate from university. Jacob. They hadn't spoken in a long time, but he remembered that Jacob now lived in Lagos. He searched through his old books, papers, and contacts. For 2 days, he kept searching. And then finally, like finding gold in a dirty stream, he found the number. His hands shook as he dialed. The phone rang. "Hello," a deep voice said on the other end. "Hello, Jacob. This is Jackson." "Jackson, your friend from school." There was silence. Then Jacob said, "Jackson? My friend. Oh, it's been a long time." They talked for a few minutes. Jackson didn't go into too much detail. He just said he wanted to see him. "Come over tomorrow," Jacob said warmly. "Let's catch up." Jackson smiled for the first time in weeks. The next day, he dressed in his best clothes, an old shirt with only one button and trousers that had been ironed too many times. He looked into a small mirror. "You are good to go," he said to himself. He stepped out of the house with a spark of hope in his heart. Jackson had walked a long distance under the blazing sun. His shirt clung to his body, soaked with sweat, and his shoes were worn out, with the sole of the right one slightly open like a mouth. Yet, nothing could stop him from reaching his friend Jacob. He had heard stories about how successful Jacob had become, but nothing could have prepared him for what he was about to see. As he approached the massive black gate, Jackson paused. He lifted his eyes slowly and took in the full view of the compound before him. What he saw left him speechless. Jacob's mansion was like something from a dream. A beautiful, white-painted 3-story building stood tall in the center of a well-paved compound. 2 luxury cars, one black Jeep and a shining red Lexus, were parked neatly beside a small garden filled with colorful flowers. A water fountain at the center of the compound danced gracefully, its cool mist catching the golden afternoon sun. Jackson stood at the gate, frozen. He whispered to himself, "Jesus. Jacob really made it. My friend is now living like a king." His hands trembled slightly as he knocked on the gate. A security man in a clean blue uniform opened it and looked him over from head to toe. "Yes. Who are you looking for?" the guard asked, raising an eyebrow. "I'm here to see Jacob. Tell him it's his old friend." "Jackson," he said, almost in a whisper. The guard went in briefly and returned with a nod. "Come in." As Jackson walked in slowly, he turned his head left and right, soaking in every detail, the polished tiles, the big flower pots, the quiet humming of the electric generator that didn't sound like the noisy ones in his neighborhood. He could even smell the faint scent of air freshener flowing from the windows. He entered the living room and his jaw dropped again. The inside of the mansion was even more breathtaking. The furniture looked like something from a foreign movie: white Italian leather sofas, a huge plasma TV hanging on the wall, a chandelier above that looked like frozen stars. The walls were decorated with expensive artwork and glass shelves filled with golden decorations. Jackson stood in the middle of the living room, turning around like a child in a toy store. He shook his head in disbelief. My friend has made it, he muttered. Jacob, you have really made it. Just then, Jacob walked in from one of the upstairs rooms, wearing a white linen shirt and designer trousers. He looked fresh, relaxed, and powerful. His gold wristwatch gleamed as he descended the stairs, smiling. Jackson, he called joyfully, stretching out his hands. Jackson smiled weakly and hugged him. My friend, Jacob said, stepping back and taking a good look at him. What happened to you? This is not the Jackson I used to know. You are looking like, how do I even say it, like the richest poor man. Jackson laughed awkwardly, scratching his head. Ah, Jacob. That's the reason I came to you, he said, his voice breaking slightly. I don't understand my life again. Everything is upside down. My 2 daughters, my wife. I'm tired. Please help me. Jacob walked to the sofa and signaled Jackson to sit. Talk to me, he said gently. Jackson sat and breathed deeply. Jacob, I'm not here to beg you for too much. Just borrow me money. Let me start a business. Something small. I need to feed my family, pay my daughter's school fees, and take care of my wife. Jacob leaned back and smiled. Jackson, my friend, he said calmly, I will not borrow you money. Jackson's heart sank. He looked at the floor. Shame washed over him. But, Jacob continued, I will show you how to make money. Jackson's eyes lit up. He sat up straight. You will? Jacob nodded. Yes. And I will start by giving you something today. He reached for his drawer and pulled out a bundle of cash, Nigerian naira 200,000. Jackson's eyes widened. Jacob. You're giving me 200,000 Nigerian nairas? Jacob laughed. Take it. Use it for something good. Eat well tonight. Pay part of your children's school fees. But don't forget, tomorrow, come back here. I'll take you somewhere that will change your life forever. Jackson stood up and hugged him. God will bless you, Jacob. You don't know what this means to me. Thank you, my dear friend. Go and rest, Jacob said with a smile. And eat good food tonight. That evening, Jackson returned home with joy bubbling in his chest. He hadn't felt this excited in a very long time. Rose. Rose, he called out as he entered their small apartment. Rosaline rushed out from the kitchen, her wrapper tied tightly around her waist. What happened? She asked. Jackson smiled and handed her a bundle of 50,000 Nigerian nairas. Take this. Cook a good meal tonight. The kind we've been craving for months. Rosaline's eyes widened. Huh? Where did you get this kind of money? Jackson laughed and sat down. I saw my classmate today, Jacob. The one I told you about. If you see his mansion, that boy is now a millionaire. He gave me 200,000 Nigerian nairas just like that. Rosaline placed her hand on her chest. Jesus. That's good news, but, my husband, please be careful. This world is not what it used to be. Jackson nodded slowly. I know. But he said he won't borrow me money, he'll show me how to make it. I'm going to meet him again tomorrow. Rosaline said nothing for a moment. Then she nodded. Okay. Just be careful. Jackson gave part of the money to their daughters for their school fees and handed Rose extra to buy some meat, rice, and ingredients. That night, they ate together as a family, rice and stew with big pieces of beef, fried plantain, and even a cold bottle of malt for each of them. The girls laughed. Rosaline smiled. Jackson sat back, his heart full. The next morning, Jackson dressed early and told his wife, I'm coming. I'll be back later today. Rosaline nodded. God go with you, my husband. When he arrived at Jacob's house, the guards let him in immediately. They sat and ate a delicious breakfast together. Jacob's maid served them bread, fried eggs, and tea. Jackson felt like a king. As they finished eating, Jacob looked at him and said, "Are you ready?" Jackson nodded. "I'm ready." And soon, Jacob pulled out his car keys. "Let's go," he said. "Where are we going?" Jackson asked. Jacob smiled. "Far. But don't be afraid. It's a journey to your greatness." They drove for hours, leaving the familiar roads behind. They passed through forests, small villages, and dirt roads. Jackson became restless. "Jacob, where are we going?" Jacob looked at him and smiled. "Relax. We'll soon be there." Finally, they arrived at a hidden compound deep in a thick forest. It was surrounded by carved stones and eerie silence. Smoke rose from a thatched hut at the center. Jackson felt a chill run down his spine. "Where is this place?" he asked. Jacob stepped out of the car and said, "This is the home of the man who helped me. A great herbalist." Before Jackson could speak again, an old man came out from the hut. His face was lined with deep wrinkles, his eyes sharp and glowing with something otherworldly. Jacob bowed. "Baba, this is my friend. His name is Jackson. He has suffered and he wants to be great." The old man looked at Jackson and nodded slowly. "Come in," he said. They entered the hut. Inside, the place was dark and the air smelled of herbs and something else Jackson could not explain. There were bottles filled with liquids, feathers hanging from the roof, and bones placed carefully on the ground. "Sit down," the old man said. Jackson sat down quietly. The old man looked at him and spoke, "I can see your pain. You have suffered. You are tired. But before I help you, I must ask, are you ready to pay the price?" Jackson's heart skipped. "What kind of price?" "Not all blessings come for free," the old man said. Jackson looked at Jacob. Jacob smiled again and said, "Don't be afraid. Baba helped me too. That's how I made my money. Just listen and follow instructions." Jackson sat silently. The old man stood up and walked to the back of the hut. When he returned, he was holding a small bag. He placed it in front of Jackson. "Inside this bag is a charm," he said. "It will open doors for you. Business will begin to flow. But you must never let it touch the ground. And one more thing." Jackson waited. "You must bring me something in return," the old man said. "Something that belongs to your bloodline." Jackson was confused. "I don't understand." "Something personal from your family," the old man said. "Something close to you. It can be a lock of hair from your daughter. Or a piece of clothing from your wife. I need it before 7 days." Jackson's heart dropped. A strange fear filled him. This didn't feel right. He looked at Jacob again. "Is this what you did too?" Jackson asked. Jacob smiled again but didn't answer directly. "Do you want to suffer forever?" Jackson sat quietly. He didn't respond. Inside him, a battle was going on. One part of him wanted to run away. But the other part, the part that remembered his daughters crying from hunger, told him to stay. After a long silence, he stood up. "I will think about it," he said. The old man nodded. "You have 7 days." They left the hut, and Jacob drove him back. They didn't talk much on the way. When Jackson got home, it was already late. Rosaline was sitting outside, waiting for him. "My husband," she said. "You came back late. What happened?" Jackson looked at her and forced a smile. "I told you I went far. I'm just tired. They went inside. Rosaline brought him food and watched him as he ate. My husband, she said again. You are not yourself. Are you okay? Jackson nodded slowly. I'm just tired, Rose. But inside, he was not okay. That night, as he lay on the bed, he held the small bag the herbalist gave him. It felt heavy. Not in weight, but in spirit. He closed his eyes and remembered the old man's words. You must bring me something from your bloodline. He turned and looked at his wife and daughter sleeping peacefully. Tears filled his eyes. This was not the kind of help he was expecting. This was not the path he thought he would take. But now he was stuck in the middle of a road he never planned to walk. And the 7 days had already begun. Now that Jackson has followed Jacob deep into the forest to meet a strange herbalist. Will Jackson agree to do whatever the herbalist asks him to do? Will he sacrifice his wife just to become rich? Will he be pushed to use his innocent daughters for money ritual? Or will he run away when he finds out the shocking price of wealth? Fire, everything is about to change. Push pin, watch out for part 2 of this shocking story. You don't want to miss what happens next. Backhand index pointing down, don't forget, backhand index pointing right, like this video. Backhand index pointing right, share with your friends. Backhand index pointing right, subscribe to our channel. Backhand index pointing right and turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when part 2 drops. Speech balloon, drop your comments below and let us know where you are watching from. Thank you for watching.